Here we are at the Sangamon County Complex with Sheriff Neil Williamson. Sheriff, thank you so much for inviting us in today.
It's my pleasure.
As you begin to close out your tenure here at the Sangamon County building and in Sangamon County. So can you tell me 5 terms as sheriff, plus years before that in law enforcement, where did it all start and how did you get involved in law enforcement?
Well, yeah, 5 terms, it's a long, long time, especially in this county. It's very, very political, as you know. 20 years as sheriff, it's just unheard of. And every day I'm the longest serving sheriff in the history of Sangamon County. And we've been here 192 years. But I've been very, very lucky, very, very fortunate. I was raised, of course, by great parents who gave me a good work ethic and just know how to treat people and talk to people. And I think that goes a long way in being a public servant or an elected official. But it all began when I joined the Springfield Police Department right after I graduated from Western University in 1973. I received my bachelor's degree in law enforcement, and back in those days it was kind of unheard of for anyone to join in law enforcement that had a bachelor's degree. People had some college, but it was becoming quite the thing. So I took the city police test when I graduated from Western in the summer of '73, and in October of 1973 I was lucky enough again to join the Springfield Police Department. I came on with one other individual. And at the Springfield Police Department, I had a variety of jobs, mostly patrol and traffic. But I was very fortunate in, I believe it was about 1982, to be assigned to crime prevention. And that was probably the defining, changing part of my police career. When I went away from like being an officer that went out and arrested people to where I went out educating people on how not to be the victims of crime. And that changed my whole outlook on law enforcement.
It's such a critical thing.
It's absolutely
Teach
critical.
people really what's right and what's wrong.
Right.
And to prevent them from moving into the bad direction.
Right, and every time I went to a crime scene, I looked at the area, like maybe a burglary. You could see areas where this could have been prevented. There were simple things that homeowner could do to prevent this. And so I thought, well, it's better to teach people not to be the victims of crime, whether it be women in purse snatchings or burglaries or stealing bikes. There's everything. And it's easier on them and it's better for us. So I did. And that was in the early 80s, and I joined the crime prevention unit. And all over town we did neighborhood watch programs and self-protection for women. And then in 1984, I was again fortunate enough to be at the right place at the right time, that I was assigned as the coordinator for the Crime Stoppers program of Sangamon and Menard counties.
Wow.
Now the program had just started. It had only been a year old, and it was just fledging. And I was lucky enough again to energize that program and kind of make it a household name. And not only did Crime Stoppers become a household name, so did mine. Oh. So everybody kind of knew who Neil Williamson was. And I was.
So is that kind of how it evolved into maybe the thought process of running for sheriff?
Yes, I think it was. There was I was on several promotion lists with the city, and I never was promoted, and it was a little political, and I got passed over. But that's neither here nor there. And I was a little frustrated. And so when I had my 20 years on at the Springfield Police Department, I was only 43. I could retire, but I couldn't collect a pension. So my wife, Patty, said, Neil, why don't you just put your resume out and see what's out there? Maybe there's a state job or something. And so we put my resume out, and within a month, I get a call from the political leaders here in the county and said, hey, how would you like to be the sheriff? Well, I panicked. The sweat was just rolling down my forehead as me. But my wife, when I talked about it, she said, you've got to go for it. You've got to take a chance in life. And I was 43. And I was appointed the sheriff when my good friend Bill DeMarco stepped down, and I finished out his 4 terms and was elected in the November of 1994 election. And then I've been 4 more elections since then.
So amazing.
It's been amazing.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history, you might say. And I thought, when I first became sheriff, I thought, well, maybe I'll spend 2 terms, 8 years, and then maybe quit, do something else.
Right.
But it was 3 terms, and then 4 terms, now 5 terms. But my mom always told me, Kurt, she says, my mom said, never stay any place too long. Where you wear out, you're welcome. And you can kind of get a sense, well, you've been here too long, or maybe the people are saying, it's time for somebody else. And that's what it kind of is. I don't want to overstay. I'm only going to be 64 next year,
Sure.
which is young.
That's young, absolutely.
But there's a time for a change, and your heart tells you that, hey, it's ready. And 41 years in law enforcement to me is enough. It's everything we deal with it wears on you. Everything's a problem.
Right.
There's a catastrophe. People are hurt. There's no money in the budget in the county has been cut. The jail, we're involved in a lot of lawsuits. Everybody sues everybody anymore. That's one of the big changes.
Right.
And so it's just every day you feel like I'm in a pressure cooker, like we had when we were kids, and Mom had that thing that rocked on top and about ready to blow up. That's what it feels like. Every day you're in this pressure cooker.
Now, you've had a lot of years. What would you say is maybe one or two of your largest accomplishments as sheriff?
Well, as sheriff, of course, technology has changed. We all had to keep up with that. It's very expensive, but we've got the new multi-channel radios that are interoperable with all the other agencies. Before, we couldn't talk to the FBI or the city or any other agency. We could just talk to ourselves. Now we have radios that we can talk to anybody, and that was a result of 911.
Right.
Computers in cars, we can go to a scene of a crime out in the county, and the deputy can do the report right from his car and file the report instead of come back here to the office and do a handwritten report. That's huge. Secondly, I think the increased in professionalism of the recruits that we hire. Before, if you wanted to be a deputy, all you had to have was a high school diploma or GED.
Right, you've raised that bar.
Yes, now to be hired, you have to have at least a 4-year college degree. It doesn't have to be in law enforcement, but at least a 4-year degree. And then when you take the test, I handpick each deputy. And there's things I look for in these deputies that you can't test for. I'm looking for people with good character, good integrity, good morals, a good work ethic, compassion for the job, empathy for people, wanting to help, and maybe a sense of humor. And those are the things I am looking for in a complete package in a deputy.
You've been around a long time, so and you have stabilized the sheriff's department and have made it grow with the decreasing amount of funds that you've had over the years. You seem like a guy that would never stop working, so I can't imagine what you're going to do once you hit that retirement bell. So what does the future hold for Sheriff Neil Williamson?
Well, there's all kinds of rumors, but don't listen to the rumors, because some of the rumors say, well, you're going to run for this office and you're going to run for that office. I think if I was going to run again for another political office, it would be sheriff again, because I do love this job. So anything else is probably just a rumor. But I've got grandkids. I've got 3. I got one grandson that lives in Breckenridge, Colorado. We plan on visiting, and I think my wife and I are we're going to catch up from things we missed over the last 25 years, because our whole life has been dedicated to this job and this office, to making sure this is a success. We've kind of neglected taking care of ourselves, you might say, and
so it's time to maybe relax a little.
Yeah, we're going to relax. Retirement is, to me, retirement.
Well, if you're like my father, he was always busier after he retired than when he was working. So hopefully you will find time to get out there and relax and spend time with your grandchildren and your wife, of course. And other than that, on behalf of the city and myself, thank you very much for your service to the community. And I wish you the best of luck in all your endeavors.
Well, thank you. It has been my honor and privilege to serve this community. Thank you, Kurt.
Well, thank you.
My pleasure.
And we'll be right back.